Welcome everybody. My name is Nadia Granato and I'm happy to welcome you to today's workshop on social media apps for web survey participant recruitment by Zaza Zindel. The Social Science Data Lab is an event series at the Mannheim Center for European Social Research. It provides a platform for early career researchers to present tools and methods for the collection, management, analysis, and visualization of social science data. Our speaker today is Zaza, a doctoral researcher in sociology at Bielefeld University, specializing in survey methods and social media data. Today, Zaza will talk about the potentials and pitfalls of recruiting survey participants from social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. In her presentation, she will also go through a fictitious example and systematically explain the most important steps for participant recruitment. It's yours.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for having me today. I hope you can understand me well. If not, please leave a comment in the chat. So then I can start. Okay, thank you for the introduction. As already said, I'm going to talk about social media ads for web survey participant recruitment, and a short note about myself. So my name is Zaza Zindel. I'm a research fellow in the BMBF funded project Gender, Identity and Sexual Orientation, Diversity in Focus, Participation and Diversity in Human Beings. So it's a really long title. I have to read it. And I'm also a PhD student at the BJHS, which is the grad school of the Bielefeld University. And in my dissertation project, I'm looking into social media, especially social media ads, and how to use them for recruiting of rare populations. So it's exactly what I'm going to present today. And besides my dissertation, I'm also interested in survey research in general, especially here in online surveys. I'm interested in social media research, digital behavioral data, experiments, social inequality, and discrimination research. So, quick outline of my today's presentation. So first, I'm going to give you an introduction into the topic. So, why is social media an interesting research tool? Then more general, how can we recruit participants through social media, not only for web surveys, but for interviews, for intervention studies or whatever, so in general. And then I'm going to show you how to set up a campaign on Facebook. And I'm focusing on Facebook especially because you're going to see it on some slides in a minute, but Facebook is the most used social media platform by now. And it has a vast amount of targeting options. So it is, to this date, the best platform for recruiting more general population. It always depends on what's your target group, but if you're in general interested in recruiting people, then I think Facebook is a good starting point. After this, I will show you in a little practical session how it is done on Facebook itself. So I'm going to switch from my presentation mode to the beta platform, and then I will go with you through the setup of an advertising campaign, so that if you have question or already tried it in the Q&A session, we all have the same basic knowledge, and then we can go on into your specific questions. Yeah, then I'm also going to present some campaign examples, and then we will end with a Q&A session. Okay, so let's start with the introduction. Social media is a worldwide phenomenon. hard word, you know what I mean. Sorry. To this date, 4.76 billion people, this is around 60% of the world population, uses social media. And on average, 2.5 hours people spend of their daily time using social media. And when we ask them, why do you use social media? What's the purpose, or why do you spend so much time on social media? People have various reasons. Some of the most reasons are to keep in touch with friends and family, or to read news, or at least headlines of news. And also just to simply fill spare time by scrolling over videos or whatsoever. So there's plenty of occasion and also people to reach on these platforms, and this makes it quite interesting for us as researchers to look more in detail into social media. I already said it. Today, the world's most used social media platform is still Facebook. The numbers of users for Facebook are decreasing in Europe, but in other parts of the world, it's increasing. So there isn't really a downward trend for Facebook at the moment. Then it's followed by YouTube and then by Instagram, WhatsApp, and so on. So overall, there is a vast amount of people accessible, especially by using Facebook as a research tool. So through social media, we have new forms and fields for us as social researchers. We can use social media as a data source. So for example, we can extract readily available data, such as digital behavioral data, stuff like link clicks or likes or comments or whatsoever. And this could be our main data source, so we can look into this. Besides this, we can also say, okay, social media is our research subject. For example, we want to see what is the influence of social media on the self-perception of young women. And then we are looking at Instagram images, and maybe we try to do some experiments, some manipulation by exposure studies or whatsoever. So we can also use social media as a research subject. And the third form, and this is what I'm going to present primarily today, is using social media as a recruitment tool. Because there are a lot of people, we can reach a lot of people worldwide, and we can reach them, for example, to take part in our survey. So we can ask them to be part of our studies. Okay, so how can we recruit research participants through social media? Just a quick insight. I did a really quick and dirty, it's called research for publications. I used the Web of Science platform and basic Boolean operators like survey, recruitment, social media, whatever, and limit it to a specific time frame until now, from 2002 until now, and only English written journal articles, and we can see there's a large increase in the last year. So it's a really trending topic at the moment. Social media recruited, advertisement based or whatever recruited approaches are really popular and get published quite well, I would say, when we look at these figures. This is for good reasons. These reasons are mainly focused on advertising-based recruitment strategies, but to some points they can also be expanded to more general recruiting approaches, like just posting a link in a group or whatever. But I'm mainly focusing on advertising recruitment here. The most often used advantage is, or mentioned advantage, is the cost. Because it is comparatively inexpensive in comparison to other strategies. When it comes to advertising, newspaper advertising or poster advertising or whatever, it's not that effective in comparison to a web advertising strategy, and the web advertising strategy is much more cost effective than a print media advertising, for example. But besides from advertising strategies in general, it is more cost effective to have advertising on social media in comparison to doing a random digital dialing procedure, for example. It's really, it's inexpensive. The second argument for social media recruitment is the reach. I already showed you the figures for the worldwide distribution of social media users. By using social media, we can directly and easily access hundreds of millions of people worldwide, even rare population groups. We can reach people in a sufficient to recruit a sufficient sample size and so on. And then also it's we're really fast. There are virtually no setup time. So within 48 hours, we are able to launch advertising campaigns or just post the link or whatever and start to recruit people when it is connected to an online survey, because we have to set up our ad, put in our ad our link to our web survey platform, and then people get straight referred after the advertising is checked by Facebook, for example, or the platform in general. And then nearly all platforms nowadays that are allow for targeted advertisings are based on revenue system, binding revenue system. So users can use the platforms for free. We do not have to pay for using Facebook or TikTok or Reddit or whatsoever. And these platforms make their money by offering advertising platforms that are, in most cases, really trickle down to specific groups, or possible to trickle down to specific groups by using specific targeting options. And also, depending on what kind of platform one is using, there are really specific targeting options, like 25 miles around this campus, for example. I'll show you in the live session what we can do with Facebook, because at this time, Facebook has the best targeting options. Then I want to mention the conversion or the ease of use, as social media users are almost exclusively accessing the platforms via mobile devices. This means that we end up in the end with a nearly only mobile or smartphone sample. And this is quite good for us when we have our advertising here, because people just have to click on our ad and then they get straight referred. So they are just a thumb click away from taking part in our survey, because they just have to click on the ad and then they get straight referred. So we have no big lose in the transition from convincing someone to take part in the survey and actually starting the survey. It's just milliseconds, and maybe some technical issues in some case, but when you think about other recruiting strategies and then bringing people actually into the survey participation part, there's often a great loss. And last but not least, there's also the option for follow-up. So social media recruiting might provide the option to easily recontact participants for follow-up studies by using the same targeting options as before, or specific target groups that were built, or just by asking people for their handles and then contact them via social media to take part again. Okay, so these are a lot of advantages. They are often mentioned. When we talk about advantages, we also have to talk about the limitations. And there are some obvious limitations, but also some not so obvious limitations. I think most of you will think about coverage bias. It's obvious because it's an online recruiting strategy. We definitely have some sort of under coverage, because we can only reach people that are active in the internet, and then we only can reach people that are active on this specific social media page. And if we want to be more clear, then we also cannot reach people that are not active at this moment. So they have to be active on the platform in the moment we are advertising or we are sending out our survey invitations. Yes. And on the other side, there's also the potential for over coverage. And this is not so often in mind of researchers thinking about limitations in social media recruiting, but I think it is really a severe problem. Overcoverage in terms of the potential to recruit a large number of ineligible accounts, for example, fake accounts. When we offer an incentive, maybe there is someone sitting on a computer and programming a bot because they want to get our incentive, and the bot is doing the survey hundreds of times, and we sending out the incentive hundreds of times if we do not check right. So this can actually happen by any kind of convenience sampling approach, because people select themselves in the survey. We do not really have control who receives our invitation. This might end up in overcoverage of fake accounts, troll accounts, or in general, ineligible accounts. So this is something we should keep in mind, definitely. And not always think about undercoverage, but also focus on overcoverage. And then the other form of error or problem is sampling error and selection bias, because I already got in the area here. I said people select themselves in our survey. We do not know how the algorithms of the platforms decide who gets to see the advertising. So there is some sort of selection before the self-selection process. And if we do not have information about the algorithm, we cannot say with we cannot really say why people are part of the survey or why they are not part of the survey, if we do not know if they even had the chance to be part of the survey. And on the other side, there's a large competition with other digital contents for the attention. So we have to design our advertising that they stand out in best case, so that people that are belonging to our target group are attracted from our advertising and then click on our ad, or first of all recognize it on the platform and then click on it. And this might also bring some bias in our sample, because we only reach people that get attracted by a specific kind of advertising. And if it's a boring advertising that doesn't stand out, maybe people don't see it. Or they are not interested in it. So we have self-selection bias, definitely. So to sum it up, with this kind of recruiting approach, we have often low data quality and also high potential for bias estimates. Nevertheless, a lot of people doing it. Here's just an excerpt of an extensive literature review I conducted in 2021. And here you can see not only people are doing it, or researchers are doing it and using advertising on social media, they're doing it for really different purposes. So for example, really young people, 40 to 28 years, that reported smoking, to cigarettes, so it's really specific population, to more general 18 years plus in various European countries, so a cross-national study. People using Facebook and Instagram in combination. And also what I want to show you with this table is CPP means cost per participant or participation. Even if it's said that it's really inexpensive to use advertising, the costs vary a lot, always depending on what kind of target group we have, in what kind of country we are recruiting, how long was our recruiting procedure, and so on. All in all, it's still really inexpensive. So 33 euros for 40 to 20 years old people living in the US smoking 2+ cigarillos a week is quite inexpensive, I would say. So it's still inexpensive, but I want to show you that the costs are varying a lot. Okay. The key findings of the literature review were that in most cases, compared to other recruiting strategies, recruitment via ads were more effective in recruiting a large sample size. Social media recruiting is also very cost effective. So even when we are focusing, or when researchers are focusing on reaching very specific target groups like rare populations, LGBTIQ people, for example, it's really cost effective. I found, for example, young LGBT adults or Polish expats in several countries or victims of sextortion could be recruited really effective using the strategy. But also, in the end, I could find in this literature review that a systematic comparison with traditional sampling methods, and especially online sampling methods, are still missing at this point. And also there is no uniform framework for publishing data at the moment. So when you are starting researching or looking into this topic, you will find a lot of articles, but not every article is giving you every kind of metrics that you might be interested in. So this is I'm asking you, if you're going to publish papers, please publish everything, every metric or whatever, because I think it's really interesting and I want to know what you did. Okay. So then let's start with setting up a Facebook campaign. In general, there are 3 steps. The first step is the preparation. The second step, the campaign creation. And the third step is the monitoring. And I'm going quickly through all the steps before I'm switching to the platform and showing you a live session how it's done. So in the preparation, first of all, we need an account on Facebook. And this is the same for every kind of platform you're interested in. You also have to set up an account for TikTok, for example, when you have to, if you want to run advertising on TikTok. But now I'm focusing on Facebook. So you have to set up a Facebook account, and then depending on what kind of survey topic you have, you may have to identify yourself or confirm your identity. And this is the case for ads that are about social issues, elections, or politics. And if you are going to launch studies or advertising, referring to studies like this, then there is a sponsored disclaimer attached to these ads. So that there's some sort of Facebook transparency measures that people know when they see the advertising, who is the funding institution or whatsoever behind the advertising. And this is especially the case for social issues, elections, and politics. So in the European Union, civil and social rights, crime, economy, environmental politics, health, immigration, political values and governance, security and foreign policy are the so-called social issues. And this is nearly every part of social research, I would say. So in most cases, you have to, or you should add a disclaimer and saying that who are you, why you are funding the study. And so you can try to do it without the disclaimer, but then you have a high probability of getting blocked and getting in contact with Facebook and try to explain them that they should unblock you, that you can go on with your research. If you want to do such a specific research in a cross-national style, then it's important in your planning or in the preparation before starting with your campaign, you need a verified account for each country in which you want to have this kind of advertising. So if you're, for example, planning to do ads in Germany, but also in the UK, and they are related to some social issue, then you not only need someone who is a German resident or a natural person of Germany, but also for the UK. Otherwise, you have a problem with the advertising. Yeah, you can try to work without the sponsored disclaimer, but in our own experience or the experience with my working group was that we really quickly ran into the blocking system of Facebook, and they said, okay, you have to add the disclaimer. Okay. Besides the account setup, you also have to create a Facebook page. I created a little MSAS workshop March Facebook page, so it's really quickly and easy to do. And you can use this Facebook page to represent your organization or institution. So down here, for example, in the introduction section, you can type what kind of institution you are and present yourself, describe yourself. It's all about gaining trust of the people who might click on your advertising, but not on getting referred, but just wanting to know who you are and then maybe deciding to take part in our survey or not. So you couldn't. And also it's a technical requirement because every advertising is always linked to a Facebook page. And there are different studies trying or comparing different strategies. We also tried to compare Bielefeld University pages to a survey specific page and whatsoever, but we didn't find any significant differences between the pages. So I can't give you really advice saying you should create a new page or always use the same page or use an institutional page. In our own experience or in the experience of my working group, there were no differences here. Yeah, but it's a technical requirement, so you have to put up such a Facebook page so that your ads can be connected to this Facebook page. Okay, and then the last step of the preparation is you have to host your online survey. You have to host it somewhere else outside of Facebook. So Facebook doesn't offer us as researchers a survey platform. By now, we can ask some short questions. I've seen this in some research, but in general, we are hosting our online survey outside of Facebook. And this is also for data protection reasons, because we do not want to have Facebook to have access on our survey data. They know who clicked on our advertising. They should know what they answered in our survey. Yeah, so we are using Facebook only as a provider for the advertisement, not for hosting our survey. Okay, so these were our preparation steps. Afterwards, we can start with the campaign creation. And here it's important to know how advertising campaigns are structured. So we have on our highest level the advertising campaign itself, and here we can add some, or you can make some adjustments for the campaign in overall. And under each of these campaigns, there are lying some ad sets. And ad sets are the bundles in which then the ads lay. So we have ad campaigns, underneath ad sets, and then on the lowest level ads. And we can make adjustments on every kind or every level of this hierarchy, but they are related in some specific ways. So in ad campaign, we have more general information that we are adding there. On the ad set level, we are allocating money and target groups, and on the ad level, we design our ad with text and images and so on. But I'm going to show you this. So on the overall campaign levels, on the highest level of the hierarchy, we first of all have to choose what our campaign objective is. So we have to design what we want to do with our advertising, because Facebook advertising isn't created for us researchers. It's created for marketeers, and they have a lot of different interests than what we have as researchers. So there are different objectives by now, or at the moment it's changing from time to time, but at this moment there are 6 different campaign objectives. And I would recommend you to choose traffic, because traffic sends people to a destination. And in our case, it's our online survey website. So we want people to click on our advertising and then get referred to our survey web page. So we want to send them to a destination. Yeah. Then on this level, we can also declare whether the ads are related to a social issue, election, or politics, what I talked about previously. And we can set an upper limit for the campaign spending. This isn't a necessity, but it's quite good to have an eye on your spendings. And we are generally adding a high number like 5,000 euros, and we don't want to spend more than 5,000 euros. So it's like a safety line in the recruiting process. Okay, then when we are on the next level, on the ad set level, here we have more options. We can set a budget for each of the ad sets. So the budget is allocated to all the ads that are laying under a specific ad set. And here, a side note, a new ad account. So if you haven't done this yet, it might be that you have a spending limit. Sometimes, some months ago, there was a spending limit of $22. So for your first campaign, when you start running ads, and you will be shut down at $22. But I haven't tested it in like 6 months or whatever. So I'm not sure what the actual spending limit is at the moment, but keep this in mind when you want to start it. Maybe you have a spending limit in a really low range. And this is just a safety measure for Facebook because they want to check if you're really able to pay their advertising. And if you pay the advertising, then you are getting, you are free to go on and launch new advertising. Okay. Then also on the ad set level, we are able to set the ad set schedule. So we can define where to start and to end our advertising. And also here, a side note, you should always run your advertising at least for 24 hours, because as I said, there's an algorithm behind the advertising allocation, and we do not really know how it works. And I guess the algorithm is learning in the first hours, and it's hard to say because I have no insights in the algorithm, but in my feelings, it takes up to 24 hours to really reach my target group I'm wanting to address. So try to at least run advertising for 24 hours. In most cases in our studies, we are doing 1 to 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, the number of conversions are decreasing and the costs are increasing and so on. And it's not that effective anymore as it is when we are starting quick and dirty from the start with a new advertising campaign. Okay, and also on this level, we can set the target group for the ads. So we can define the targeting parameters like location, language, age group, gender, specific other demographic information, also interest and behavioral data. And in general, we always work like having multiple ad sets for a target group. For example, having ads that are addressed to a younger population and also ads that are addressed to an older population, having ads that are addressed to specific regions or specific genders or whatever. So some sort of stratification on advertising level, just to make sure that we reach our specific subgroups, because in some cases, we just ran without targeting parameters and then we got an sample that is 60 years plus, which is not the usual social media population, but in the first days, the people 60 plus were really active, reacting to our advertising. And then the algorithm allocated our ads to this specific group because there was a good performance for this group. And that's not what we are wanting. So we want to have control over our sample that is generated or recruited. So we often do some sort of stratification on the targeting level to get all our subgroups or populations well represented. Okay. Then also on ad set level, we can define the placement of the ads. So if it should be in Facebook or Instagram or somewhere else, and also on different placings within the network. And we can also select the ad optimization. So if we want to optimize, optimization means should the delivery of the advertising be optimized for link clicks? That's what we want. We want link clicks so that they get referred to our survey page, or for impressions, meaning that a lot of people seeing our advertising. So it would optimize the advertising delivery for impressions. Yeah, and we can also on this level determine when we want to pay. Do we want to pay for impressions or do we want to pay for link clicks? And here again, I would recommend link clicks, because we just want to pay when people really clicking on our advertising. Okay. So, and then we're on the last level, on the ad design level. Here we can decide, or maybe not decide, but here we can set up our actual ad and create it, how it should look. We can use images, videos, and text to tailor our ads for a specific group and attract the attention of the specific group. So when we are thinking in a classical survey methodological way, our advertising are our survey invitation letters. And we have plenty of literature about survey invitation letters and how these letters should be designed, that they are appealing to people to take part in the survey. And these parts of the survey invitation letter we can find again in an advertising. So we have, for example, the sender, who is it, who is launching the advertising. Here in this case, it's the MSIS workshop Facebook page I created. And how is the text here designed? Is it personal or is it more official? It always depends on what's your target group. So if you're planning to reach people in the age of 14 to 18, then maybe try to sound cool or whatever. And if you want to reach more older people, then try to be official maybe. And the same for the images. The images should stand out because they are the main part on the advertising or of the advertising. And they are the main part of what people see, for example, in the newsfeed on Facebook. And if the image is boring, then they don't start to read this small text here. They just scroll over it. So it has to stand out in some sort of way. But on the other side, we do not really know what is the effect of the advertising image. This is something I'm working on right now and running some experiments to get further information on this. But we not really know how selective are our samples when we use polarizing images or standing up images. Yeah. And down here, you again can add some headlines. You can define the display URL. I'm going to show you this in the live session. But yeah. Also, side note, please make sure that you do not violate the guidelines of the ad content, because then again, you get blocked. You have to get in contact with Facebook, ask them, please, we are researchers. Can you unblock us? We want to do research. And so on. And in these guidelines, there are some obvious points, but other not that obvious points. I can give you an example. Out of our own research, we had a campaign and we wanted to recruit Muslim people living in Germany. And we asked people in our advertising text. So our advertising text here was, "Are you a Muslim?" ? Then take part in our survey. And this is against the guidelines for ad content. And it took really long for me to understand it, but now I got it. Because when someone else is looking on the smartphone of a friend or whatever, and then there is the question, are you a Muslim? And the people or the person who owns a Facebook account doesn't want anyone to know about their religion, then they get outed in their religion, because now I targeted people and asking them if they are Muslim, and they got the advertising shown because they might be Muslim, and we are outing them in front of friends or family or whatsoever. Maybe it makes more sense when we switch Muslim with a gay man, for example, and people are not outed. So this is the reason why you should not ask people, "Are you?" ? But you can formulate the question like, we are searching for, or not as question, but the text says, we are searching for Muslim people to take part in our survey. And then it's more general, and we do not out people in their religiousness or in their sexual orientation or whatever. Yeah. So really have a look at the guidelines, because then otherwise we will get blocked or get problems with the approval of your advertising. Okay. If you have no idea where to start, there is quite good library. This is the Facebook ad library. from Meta. And here, every advertising that is listed as social or political relevant or whatsoever is listed here. And you can, with some easy parameters, you can search for it. I just tried here, take part in our survey, and then you can find plenty of advertisings that are currently running. For example, the Center of Research on Peace and Development has some advertisings here. And then you can look at the advertising and ask yourself, is it a good advertising or not? Would I click on it or not? Is it appealing to my target group? But maybe this is a starting point for you to look into the creation of advertising. And also for reverse searching, when you not really want to run advertising, but make research about the advertising, it's a really good tool. Okay, so let's come to the last part. This is the monitoring. Monitoring means we have to have an eye on the cost, the performance, and the subgroup size. So when we recruit people, we have to evaluate the cost per click that we are getting reported in the advertising management system to a cost per completed interview. What we have to calculate on our own, because Facebook doesn't know how many people actually took part in our survey. So we have to evaluate it against these two measures against each other. And we have to monitor the performance of the ad sets and the ads. In some cases, it might be clever to remove certain advertising. For example, when we want to have a population representative, you know what I mean, sample, then we are stratifying our advertising, and after 2 days, we have a full set of people between 40 and 30 years. Maybe it makes sense to deactivate this advertising and allocate the money to the older people and to recruit them. Yeah. And then always have an eye on the actual survey data and the net complete composition. So do the ads with a high performance also recruit the desired groups, or do we recruit a lot of people that are ineligible, like trolls or whatsoever? So maybe advertisings are polarizing, but in the end, they have no good fit for the recruiting of our target population. Yeah, and based on this, make adjustments for on the distribution of the daily campaign budget, or deactivate advertising and so on. And on the other side, you always have to moderate the interactions with your advertising, because depending on what kind of topic you are advertising or what kind of survey topic you are advertising, you are getting more hateful comments than with other topics, for example. So in some cases, you have to apply heavy moderation, hiding a lot of comments or delete certain comments in some cases. And with other topics, people do not get really aggressive or whatsoever, just have questions and try to moderate it. Try to help the people to understand what you are doing, give them information about your study and so on, so that your study seems to be trustworthy and that they want to take part in your survey. In general, our recommendation is to do as little intervention as possible, but taking action in cases of serious insults or inhuman statements. So, for example, I have here an example. Someone was wondering what kind of image we were using, because the person said that the person is non-binary and a bit shocked by the image that we were using to portray a woman or a female person. And then we answered that we use a lot of different images to present a diverse set of people from the LGBTIQ community, and that the person might not feel represented by this image, but someone else might be, and we have different advertising, and we do not want to create stereotypical thoughts or whatsoever. Yeah. So this is just simply moderation, saying, hey, we are trustworthy, we know that this might not be the kind of representation you are feeling, but someone else might be, and then it's fine. Other comments we got were like, really racist comments when we are interested in recruiting Muslims or Muslim women. Then we got, for example, images of monkeys or whatsoever, and we were really quickly in deleting this comment because we want to reach our specific target population. And when our advertisings are full with hate and racist comments, I guess they won't take part in our service. So yeah, and on the other side, we do not want to be a platform of hate or whatsoever. So always keep this in mind. Okay, then I'll start with the practical session. I have to switch. Moment.
Zaza is just looking for a thing. I forgot to read out the disclaimer. We are recording this live stream in active speaker mode. On-site and remote participants will be recorded. And if your video is on while asking a question online, your video will be recorded as well. For those joining us online, you may ask your question by raising your hand or posting your question in the Zoom chat, and I will read it out then. So as no question has been asked by now, it's okay, I guess.
Okay, so okay, so now this is what it looks like when you are in the advertising manager of Facebook and you did a lot of advertising campaigns in the last month and years. Yeah, so this doesn't look the same if you start new from scratch. Then it might look more like my private advertising campaign because I never did advertising on my own. Yeah, but in the end, it doesn't matter. It all is the same in procedure. Let me switch back to our working groups account because there I'm verified and got all the rights. So to start a campaign, I'm clicking on create and start to create a campaign. And as I said, we are interested in recruiting people or referring people to our destination, so to our survey page. So I'm using traffic as the option. Then by clicking down here, we can start with a basic structure by naming our campaign, MCES workshop, maybe March 2023. Then I can also right away add a first ad set. I just call it ad set 1 maybe, and then I can create an ad and call it ad 1. So basic structure right away. And then by clicking on continue, I can get more deep into the structure. Yeah, so now you see this is here on the side. This is the general advertising manager, and then there's an overlay here for the new ad campaign, which is called MCES Workshop March 2023. So, and here's what I already said, the option to say, okay, maybe it's related to a social issue or election politics. Well, also if we want to do some housing or employment advertising, but this is not necessary for us. So if we have a social issue related survey, then we had to click it here. And then also you have to say in which kind of country you want to advertise, and you also have to prove that your identity is confirmed. You can see it down here. So my profile is confirmed. For the confirmation, I had to send a photo of my passport, and they checked if I'm a real person. And now I'm allowed to do advertising related to social issues and so on. But for the demonstration now, let's uncheck it, because then we have more options. We can click more stuff now. The next level is, again, we can check here, what is our campaign objective? We want to have a traffic campaign. And then here we can add a spending limit, and just for safety reasons, let's say, okay, maximum €1,000. So if I do something wrong today and click on sending out the advertising, it will cost me a maximum of €1,000, but hopefully I'm stopping it before it actually launches. Okay, so then we can do some A and B testing. This is a testing option offered by Facebook, where we can try to compare different images and ad text and a performance. But my general opinion is here, do not use any of the Facebook offered testing stuff. Do your own scientific based tests. So if you want to do an A and B test, then do it on your own way and not using the options offered by Facebook, because they are optimized for marketeers, not for social science researchers or researchers in general. Yeah, and also we do not want to have an advantage campaign budget allocation. We want to define on our own exactly what or how many dollars or euros we want to spend for what specific purpose. So we want to have as much control as possible in our campaign. So when I now click on the next button, we go to the ad set level, and here we have a lot of more options. To close this window here. Okay, so here we see again our ad set. Then I can say what kind of conversion do I want to have. I said we have a traffic campaign. I want people to be sent to a location, and we want to send them to our website. So this is the right option here. Get referred to a website. Yeah, then we can set our budget. For example, we could say a daily budget of €20 for this specific ad set. So I wouldn't change it here. And then we could schedule the start time, let's say not 2 p.m. but 4 p.m. So giving me some time to deactivate it, and also setting an end date for advertising campaign tomorrow at 12 a.m. for example. Okay, here this is too short, and let's say until 16th of a.m. And then they show more options. We can also see when our ads will be allocated or distributed, and here it's said that our ads will run at all time. There's the option to say, okay, just launch it between let's say 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. or whatsoever, because we want to have young children that are coming home from school and sitting in front of the smartphone, for example. So maybe this makes sense in some specific target groups. There's also an option for this. Okay, and then we can look into the nice part of Facebook, and that is the targeting options, and we can do a lot of nice stuff here. For example, we can use the location information and recruit people that are in near of the location. Now we have in general here Germany, but let's try people that were recently in this location, and then not Germany in general, but let's say MCES. Oh, moment here, MCES Mannheim. Do it. Okay, then maybe let's say University Mannheim. It's I do not have the address of the MCES at the moment. Let's say University Mannheim. Okay. So and now we can say around 1 mile distance. And we then with this campaign would only reach people that were in a 1 mile distance between University of Mannheim in a specific period of time in recent days. And then a specific group will get advertising from us. So maybe at the start of a new semester, some people could try to reach new students or whatever. Then we have other options here like demographics. We could define the age range. The youngest age is 13, but this is not always possible. There are specific specific options for underage people that need to be clarified before starting a campaign. And here, in this case, we have a really specific location, so we can't combine it with really young people. We need a more broad location, then we can try to recruit underage people. It's just a safety measure from Facebook. So now at the moment, I'm not allowed to recruit people that are under 18, but if I change it here from University Mannheim to Germany in general, then it should work. Okay, amazing. But why is it like 1 mile around Dürnheim? Drop pin. Thank you very much. Another pin. Okay. I'm sorry at this moment. I don't know why the combination doesn't work. But there are some limitations that when the location are too specific, you are not allowed to recruit underage people, and in some cases you are allowed to recruit underage people. Then you can choose between binary sexual, not sexual orientation, but genders, and other demographic information. For example, I click on browse. There are really a lot of informations that are available. For example, life events, birthdays, and then we only recruit people that have a birthday in January, for example. Maybe this might be interesting for a specific experiment or whatsoever. Besides demographics, we can use interests. Interests are, for example, wellness behavior, family behaviors, hobbies, activities, shopping behaviors, or interests, and then behaviors, for example, expats, as in the one study I showed you in the literature review, you could, for example, choose people living abroad, living in, for example, Australia sometime or whatever. With all this specific targeting options, besides the age and the location, which are quite easy because they are generated to user behavior and information of your smartphone or whatsoever where you are around, and are generated from the IP address. But all other stuff, like, for example, life events, I'm not sure how they are. Because people saying, hey, I just married, and I'm updating their Facebook status, then it's really selective. But maybe Facebook algorithm knows from some sort of people who are planning a wedding and said, okay, they are new weds, then it might work good. But I have no insights in the algorithm, and you also will not have insights in the algorithm. So it's just guessing at this point. So when using these specific targeting options, always think about how could the data be generated? Why do Meta know this information, or how did they get this information? And use them sparingly. Okay. Then you also can say, hey, let's reach people beyond our detailed targeting options that are some sort of similar or have a high likelihood to click on our advertising, because in the advertising system manner, the program still thinks, okay, you want to have link clicks, and this is the most important part, but we want to have link clicks from our target group. And it doesn't make sense to check this box here. Okay. Then in the next step, we can design or define the placement. Facebook gives you the option to say that you have an advanced placement, meaning that the algorithm decides for you where, on what kind of platform the ads are placed, so that you get the highest amount of your performance goal, meaning link clicks or best link clicks or whatsoever. And we did some experiments with this. Don't use it. Decide manually where you want to place your advertising, because Facebook allocated our advertising quite good. We got a lot of impressions, a lot reach, but in the end, the quality of survey participation was really crappy. So we only use the manual placement, and then we define, okay, we want to use only Facebook, for example. And then in Facebook, we want to use only the Facebook newsfeed, for example. No stories, no in-stream or whatsoever. Yeah, or no in articles. In general, we have, or in our experience, in streams and search in articles weren't efficient for our target groups that we used to reach. We only use feeds and story reels, and this is enough because these are the most used by general target populations. But depending on what's your target group, you have to think about, maybe you have a specific target group that is really active in the Facebook marketplace. Could be then advertise in the Facebook marketplace and so on. Yeah, but what I want to say, never choose any of the recommendations of Facebook. Always have everything in your hand, control it by yourself. What you want to optimize, how many money is allocated to different advertising and where the ads are placed, all decided on your own. And then we also can say on what kind of devices we want to distribute the advertisings and brand safety options, but this isn't necessary for us because we do not have a real brand in this point, so just want to recruit people for survey completion. And then the last step here is the optimization and delivery. And here we can choose for what we want to optimize our ad delivery. And as I said, I would choose link clicks because we want a lot of people click on our advertising. I wouldn't define any cost per result goal because the costs are depending on a bidding system. So it depends on how many people or other companies are advertising to the specific target group you are using or want to address. And in some cases, it's really inexpensive, and in other days, it's more expensive. So for example, maybe today, it's more expensive to try to recruit women in Germany or especially Berlin, because we have a Women's Day, and in Berlin, there is a vacation day. So maybe today is not the right day to have an inexpensive advertising campaign. On tomorrow, it's less expensive. So it makes no sense to set an overall cost per result goal. Just let it go with the flow in your bidding. I get decided, it's depending on the bidding system here. And then this is also really important. It's a bit hidden here. So you have to click on show more options. Here is define when you get charged. And I think it's a bit sketchy by Facebook because it's hidden down here. The standard option is that you get charged by impression, but we're not interested in having millions of people seeing on our advertising. We want people click on our advertising. So change it here to link click and don't pay for the impression, pay for the link click. Yeah. So when I now click on, maybe just having a look here, we have an audience definition here. This is quite broad here, from 1.2 to 1.4 million people are potentially available in a 10-kilometer range around Düren. Düren, I just randomly clicked it. Yeah, so 1.2 to 1.4 million people might be available here, and in all Germany. Maybe I delete all Germany, and then I say, okay, only women. And then now you see the estimated population size got really small. So only around Düren and only women are 41,000 to 48,000 maximum estimated reach here. And this is also quite an interesting number to have it somewhere safe, because it tells you what is the potential reach of the platform. And you can try to compare the sample sizes from different platforms. So for example, when you're especially interested in young people, check this metrics here on Facebook and then check it on TikTok, for example. And if TikTok has a better estimation, then maybe try to use TikTok or combine it or whatever. Okay, so, but now we got all the information here, and when we click on next, then we get referred to the ad level, and here I can design the ad. Let's choose our Facebook page that is connected to our advertising. Now I want to have the MSAS workshop page to be connected here. Then I can also use an Instagram page if I had one for our advertising, and then I can create our advertising. So I want to create an ad, and I want to do it manually. I want to have an ad preview. Yeah, and I want to have single images. So now here at the ad creative, I can start creating the ad by clicking on add image and choose one of these images here. It's the most easy, but you can upload your own images. And then I can design the visual parts of the image here, like cropping the image to fit into the space. So maybe this isn't the best advertising image, but you get what I mean here. You can change the visual parts of the advertising. You can choose an optimization like image pricing and whatsoever. But as I said, never use the optimization by Facebook because we have no control. So now I click done, and then we have our first advertising here with the sponsor the sender of the advertising MSAS workshop page, then our advertising image I choose, and then I can also define the primary text like take part in our survey, and then the text is added up here, and I can also define a headline. Let's call it test text. This down here is the test headline. And then I can choose a call to action button. This is this small button here. You can choose one of it. At the moment, we are all using, or most of the researchers doing this kind of research using Learn More. But I know that Facebook is working on specific button for survey researchers. So maybe there is the option in some month to click on here and say take survey, and then we get referred to survey. And then also something what might be practical for you is, for example, we have a really long survey web page that doesn't make sense or doesn't look nice. You see now here there is the random survey page I generated. We can add a display link. So for example, we could say the display link is msas.com. And then instead of the really awkward long link, there is msas.com as a link here, and it seems to, or the design is more trustworthy. I would say it looks better for potential participants. Yeah. And then the last part in the creation, and then I'm done with the creation, is the tracking. You can define URL parameters, and this is important, especially when you're interested in survey research. When you're using different images or different text or whatsoever, and you want to compare it, you want to know from what kind of ad set someone is coming, and you can do this by defining this URL parameters. So for example, I can say ad is defined, and then I define it with a placeholder that is given here and is called ad. And then Facebook is writing the ad name in the field called ad in this case, and so on. It's a bit more complicated, and it would take more time to specifically go into this URL parameters, but it's quite easy to read into it. So you should definitely define these URL parameters. And then in the end, to publish your advertising, you can click on publish. And then when I would click on publish, then it would get into the check process or monitoring process and or approval process. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm a bit over time. I am quickly switching to my examples, and then I'm going to end the presentation so that we can go on with the Q&A session, and you can ask your own questions. Okay, so as I said, I want to give you some campaign examples, and I'm doing this a bit more quickly now, and you can ask me questions afterwards. First project I'm going to present you is the Bielefeld study. This was an online survey in which we wanted to recruit lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer people and people of same-sex families with children in their household. And we did this by using advertising on Facebook and Instagram. And we used targeting options, and this targeting options only included gender, location, and age. Because as I said, we do not know where all the targeting options come from. We can try to experiment with it, but when we are having a specific target group, we are in generally trying to do this with more basic demographic targeting here. This is what our advertisings look like. We try to use different images so that the images attract different target populations. So more older gay people, more middle-aged families, same-sex female families, more pictograms or symbolic images. So we try to use different images to display the heterogeneity of the LGBTIQ population and attract a lot of people from different subgroups here. So in general, it was really inexpensive. We go quickly through it. We had 7,000 completed interviews in the end, with only 1.7 people reporting an heterosexual orientation, and 28.4% were living with children, so maybe possible people of a same-sex couple with the children in a household, which is really a rare population in Germany. In average, we paid 28 cents for a net cost of an interview, which is really, really good or really, really inexpensive. And 98% of our participants used a smartphone. So it was nearly smartphone only survey. We did the data collection in parallel with an online, with a probability-based sampling approach from the sub. It's a specific subsample of the sub targeting the same population, and as I said, it was conducted in parallel and also had a lot of questions in common. And here we can see that we were, with our online recruiting approach, much more successful when it comes to specific target groups. For example, we were able to recruit a large number of people with a trans identity. In the end, it's in both samples 1.9%, but we got more than 7,000 people online in comparison to the sub data. And 133 people is a large enough number to look further into specific subgroups, but what isn't possible with the other group of with the other populations in the subgroup. On the other side, we have really, really young people in the online sample, and we have really, really high educated people in the online sample. Then we did a second wave of the study in 2021. Again, we got around 7,000 completed interviews, but we spent €1.10 for a completed interview. And when we look at the cost per click over the years in comparison, this is the day of campaign, and the cost per click, the upper line here is 2021. So at the lowest point, the inexpensive or less expensive point in the 2021 recruitment was the recruiting or the cost per click was still more expensive than in the highest point of the 2019 campaign. So in general, there is a trend that advertising is getting more and more expensive on Facebook, but overall it's €1.10 is still a good price for LGBTIQ people. Okay. And the second study is the study about female Muslims wearing headscarves in their daily life and in their work life. And what I want to show you here is we use different advertising images, as I said, and I already mentioned it, we got a lot of hateful comments. And based on this hateful comments, we could identify or find some evidence for systematic manipulation of our study results, because we got referred, or our advertising link or a survey link got referred or passed in hate speech forums, and then there were people actively saying, take part in the survey, pretend to be a Muslim man, pretend to have multiple of women, pretend to have multiple of children, pretend to never work, and so on. And they wanted to systematically manipulate our study results. And so I applied quality indicators to check for violations, and found that nearly 20% of all our interviews had at least one violation. And then I further looked into the demographics of the violated or potentially violated interviews. And I see that there was a systematically image portrait of Muslim men. As I said, they said, pretend to have multiple women, to be a never working Muslim man, and so on. And this is exactly what we found in our data for the violated interviews. So there is the potential of overcoverage. We have to keep it in mind. Okay, so let's sum up. I see a lot of research potential in this recruiting strategy. Social media platforms can be helpful tools for recruiting survey populations quickly and cost effectively. When we are interested in specific target groups like LGBTIQ people or female Muslims wearing hijabs, it's also superior compared to other online recruiting strategies, for example, Access Panel, because people select themselves into our survey because they are interested in our advertising text or images. And I think that the growth, or the still continuing growth of social media users worldwide, suggests that this strategy will become even more relevant in the future. Maybe not only for survey recruiting and specifically, but checking how the distribution of potential people to be reached on these platforms could be. Yeah. And then research gaps I identified. There is no uniform framework for publishing this information. So please, if you're writing a paper, release all your social media metrics information with this paper. Also, there are no clear guidelines when it comes to these quality indicators. This is also a project I'm still working on to check how to identify really malicious intent falsifications of interviews. Yeah, but at the moment there is no clear guideline. And last but not least, we need appropriate weighting and alignment strategies to reduce the bias, because I said we have over coverage, we have under coverage, we have self-selection bias and so on. And it would be nice to some sort of reduce the bias. But at the moment, there aren't any really good working weighting strategies, or at least alignment strategies. Yes. Okay. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm so sorry for being first all the time, but I am curious to hear all your questions now.
As I said before, you can raise your hand or.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. This was a great workshop. I have a few questions, specifically 4 questions. So should I ask all of them, or we have limited time? Nadia, what do you think?
Sorry.
I have 4 questions, but if there are so many questions, then
There are more questions in the chat.
yeah,
so-
okay. Then I will ask. Okay, I will try to ask some of them. So my first question, there are ad sets that we can create in the same ad campaign, right? And is there a maximum number of ad sets that we can create?
And to be honest, I never checked this, but we had really extensive ad campaigns with 15 ad sets.
Okay.
50, not 15, 50 ad sets.
Mhm.
I never reached a limit, but I'm not sure. Maybe there is a limit.
And do you know if we can, in one ad set, the design is a picture with text, and the second ad set is a video, for example? Or is it possible to combine different designs, if you know?
Yeah, you define the design of your advertising on the advertising level itself. So you can have various images or various videos under one ad set, but each ad has its own design. So
Okay, so in the same, under the same ad campaign, we can have different ways of like inviting people. In one ad set is picture, and in the other ad set is a video invitation.
yeah, so maybe you're switching up the terms a bit. So we are on the
Ad campaign is the big.
yeah, we're on the ad campaign, and you can do whatever different design stuff under your ad campaign, and you can also do different design stuff under the ad sets on one ad set, because you're defining it here.
Okay.
So your specific ad has a specific text and a specific picture or video or whatsoever, and then there could be another image or video or whatever, but it's under the same ad set. On ad set level, you define placement and cost and some stuff like this, and targeting.
Okay, I understand. Thank you very much. Yes, sorry. Yeah, okay. If there's more time, then I will, maybe I can ask in the end if there's more time.
Maybe now read one question from the chat and then you go. So I just read it because of time restraints. There's a question from Felix Roche. Do you typically pay participants or offer them the chance to participate in a lottery as an incentive to participate and compensation for participation?
No, so in our specific projects, we never used some kind of incentives in a monetary way, because in general, I would say it's complicated to have incentives on social media, because you attract a lot of people try to scam you to get your incentive. And we had always really specific target groups. We had LGBTIQ people, which is an underserved population at the moment. We could see in our open-ended questions, for example, that they were really, really happy that they already that they got the chance to be a part of a survey, and that someone asked them about their daily life. And this was the same for Muslim people, for example. And then in the general population surveys that we had, we just gave the people incentive because it doesn't matter who clicked on it. We just wanted to have participants to do some experiments and whatsoever. So why should we pay them? They just clicked on it and took part. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you for the talk. I have a question about the ad set. So if I want to advertise in different locations and also for different age groups, do I always have to create another ad set for this? So in one ad set, can I always have only one location and one age group? Or can I insert multiple age group, multiple locations?
It depends. So if you want to have in, let's say, ad set 1, people that are between 15 and 30 or between 45 and 60, and it doesn't matter if they are part of the one age group or the other, and you can define it all together in here. But if you want to have one ad group specifically being addressed to 15 to 30 years people and one specifically to 45 and 60, and you want to compare it, then I would recommend to choose different categories. Yeah.
Okay, so and then if I would do it in one ad set, could I then target the two different age groups with different pictures or not?
No.
No, okay, so for this I have to make two different ad sets.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you would have then, when it all is combined in here, your ads could look different, but they get targeted to the same people defined here.
Okay, now I read out a question from Alexander Welz. Thanks for this interesting talk. So that does Facebook provide characteristics about the users who were shown the ad, or just about those who clicked on the ad?
We have some insights on the impressions, but really on rough level. So we can see how many females and males can see our advertising or got impressions of our advertising. But it's just on a binary level. And then the age group. Detailed information. Sorry, I have to drink.
But that's okay. There is some information for those who.
Yeah. But it's also not that detailed for the people who clicked on the advertising. There we also just get the information of the age group and so on. And I guess some information about the devices they used. Or I have to. Sorry. Okay, I'm back.
Okay, is there another question? I have more, but so there's because there will be one last question, I guess, in the chat. Julia Weiss asks, "Thank you for this very interesting and helpful presentation. In the practical session, in the various settings, it said auction for buying type. Can you say something about what this means and if this is the recommended selection?"
Yeah, so this is not only the recommended selection, this is the only option you have for a traffic campaign. I try to switch the shared screen. So this is the only option that you have in other, let me see. No, I'm not sure where it was. It must be here, I guess. Okay, I'm not sure where it is in before I spend too much time for searching it. So this is the only option we have for our traffic campaigns. We are in an bidding war, let's say it like this, with other advertisers that want to have the same advertising place, and we can say how much we want to pay in maximum per day or maximum for a campaign. And then we got places that are more wide distributed or not that far distributed and reach a lot of people or do not reach a lot of people. So yeah, but it's all defined by the bidding strategy. Or yeah, it's all depending on the bidding situation in the moment, and we do not have the chance to switch to another payment model. Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot, Zaza, for this very interesting, detailed, and insightful talk. Before we say goodbye, the Social Science Data Lab will be back on March 29 with an input talk by Christopher Klamp from the University of Mannheim on transformer-based language models. Okay, thank you for joining and see you soon. Bye.